Good morning, viewers. This morning we're having an interview section with Mr. Alabi Michael Olufunmilade. He is the chairman of Destos International School, which was established on September 1996. Mr. Alabi is an accountant. He has worked briefly with the former African Petroleum PLC Nigeria. With me in the interviews, I'm Benedicta Bassi, and he'll be sharing more light on the educational issues in the country. Can we meet you, sir? You can say your names again for the record.
My name is Alabi Michael Olufunmilade.
Okay, tell us more about yourself and the institution.
I am the chairman of Destos International Schools here in Lagos, Nigeria. The school was established September 4th, 1996. It was a vision God gave to me when I was in an oil company. I told God that when I leave an oil company, what exactly am I going to do for the rest of my life? And the answer came that I should go and establish a school. I'm not an educationalist, but my wife happened to be a teacher. She's a retired director of education from Lagos State. So I came and I told her about the vision, and the school was established. And since then, God has been with us. By the grace of God, we have the kindergarten, the nursery and primary, and we have the college. And the school has produced many professionals. As we speak, the school has produced an accountant, doctor, engineers, surveyors, and many other professions, to the glory of the Father in heaven. Thank you.
So being in the space, the educational space for a while, how will you rate the performance of education in the country?
The performance of education in the country is not bad per se, but there's still room for improvement. I believe that the government can still look into the activities of the schools and still improve on what we have on ground right now, because education is very, very important. When you are educated, it gives you confidence. It enables you to have focus. And when you are focused, you have stability. And when you have stability, you'll be productive. And when you are productive, you will have fulfillment. So this is where we are. This is what the Nigeria, the government is trying a lot. So, and I believe that they can still have more. There can still be improvement.
So in what areas do you seek that improvement to be?
In the funding of education, in the public school, there should be enough funding, and the funding should be on the materials for learning, so that the children can be exposed not only the academics, but also the other aspects that will make that functional education. Then, on the private side, the private schools, the government should try as much as possible to encourage the private schools, because the private schools are augmenting what the public school, the government is doing through the public school. So the private school should be helped, because the private school go on their own to get facilities from the bank. The government should provide funds. There should be a forum where the private school can access funds from the government to boost what they are doing. This is very, very important. Not that the private now owners of the school proprietors now will be going on their own now to go to the bank. As we speak, some banks say they don't have facility for private schools, because after COVID, everything changed.
So before, prior to COVID time, even the private schools, they have access to funds.
Yeah,
on loans ground.
Yeah, facility from the bank.
Okay.
But after COVID, I think some banks, they don't give facility to schools.
So private schools.
Private schools, because of what they experienced during COVID, because of bad debts. But if we have a pool of funds from the government where private owners of schools can access funds to do what they are doing, to also augment the government, because we're employer of labors too, and we are providing education for the children. So there should be because we are running on a very tight budget. So if we have access to funds, we'll be able to provide more quality education for these children.
That's right. So what do you think teachers in Nigerians can do to be motivated? You know, there are some teachers in some, perhaps many institutions now, they feel demotivated in their job. How can they be motivated? How can government come in to address the situation?
Teaching is a professional job. And every human being that is educated passed through a teacher. And the government should try as much as possible to encourage teachers, because they are the one imparting the knowledge. So if the government can, as I said, enables the approved schools have access to enough funds, that schools will not be owing salary, and schools can be able to pay at least the wages or salary that will be enough for these teachers, it will be fantastic. Because myself, I want my teachers to be comfortable. I want them, all of them, to have cars. But the issue is that after COVID, many people don't want to teach, because some schools did not take care of their teachers during COVID. But by the grace of God, we were able to strategize. We got all our teachers back, because during that COVID, we were trying as much as possible to encourage them. But some teachers, some schools declined. They did not pay the teachers, and we will not blame them, because the funds were not coming in. But had it been that the government try as much as possible, even for the schools, to have access to funds, at least during that period, to service the industry, it wouldn't have as bad as we are right now, because many people don't want to teach because of the experience they had during COVID time.
Okay, today we have a popular term called the Japa syndrome.
Yes.
Lots of Nigerians are moving overseas to get education, to acquire knowledge. And if we look at it critically, that alone can affect our economy, whether we like it or not. So what do you think we can do to checkmate these trends?
The Japa syndrome, that is professionals, students going out of the country, all boils down to infrastructures and adequate resources in our schools establishments. Though you cannot totally stop someone from taking a decision to travel to Japa, but if, as we speak, the universities and other educational sectors, the tertiary education and other education sectors are well funded, and we have all the basic amenities that can make people to learn and not just go to school to be educated, because I'm educated. So you will discover that people will stay, and at the same time, job opportunities are also another critical factor. So if somebody is educated and the job availability is not there, you discover that you cannot hold that individual. Because I remember when I left school, I didn't look for a job. It wasn't a big deal. I finished. The following year, I was already in another company. And at the age of 31, I was already the area as an accountant. So, but someone that's at 31 now, what is he doing as a graduate? Where is he? He's still living with at the age of 20, I was already living in my house. At the age of 24, I'd already settled down as a young man. At the age of 27, I'd already married. So, 27-year-old graduate now, does he have a job? Can he think of marriage? At the age of 31, yes, at the age of 31, thereabout, I'd already had a car, 504. So a graduate that is now 31 years old, what has he been able to get?
Is it the fault of the graduate or the fault of the government or the fault of the economic generally?
The economic situation and what is on ground is the government need to look into it. Those days, all you need to do is you are employed on merit, though there still be some connections. But if you don't have what it takes to be employed, the connection cannot work for you.
So with they have jackpot, some of them have jackpot and they are there now. In your opinion, do you think the foreign education is more superior or more qualified than what we have here in Nigeria?
You can the comparison is all boils down to the environment. Over there, they have the facilities to learn. They are exposed. My son that went to Japan for his master's degree, doing his master's from Japan, went to America for research, go to London, go to other country from Japan, master degree. But someone that is doing master degree here is not as that exposed. So all boils down to the facilities and for government to look holistically into the issue of education. That if education is given to an average Nigerian, if the children are educated, you may not need to go out. If you are educated, you can establish something. You don't need to go out because over there's no rest. You pay bills. But here, you can still have your way and establish something and you'll be doing something. So it all boils down for the government to make the environment conducive that even if you are educated and there is no work, you can take a decision to establish something to do.
Okay, do you think the standard of education has fallen? And if yes, who should be held responsible?
I have to be pragmatic in that aspect. The standard of education has fallen. We have to be pragmatic. So, the blame cut across the board. The blame on the government, the blame on the parents. Now, parents want microwave syndrome. Parents have microwave syndrome. They want their 3-year-old child to be able to read and write and even do things that a child that is in basic 5 will not be able to do. And parents also are aiding and abetting. So these are the things. So also the policies, the government policy also should be looked into so that to maintain a very good standards, because education, if a nation that the youths are educated, that nation is delivered. When majority of the youths are educated, that nation is delivered from, I'm telling you, that nation is settled. But when the majority of the youths only went to school but not educated, they are not the graduates, or they are not employable.
Okay, today private school has gained more ground. A lot is now a major alternative to many parents or to many people. People now sought the help of private institutions, leaving the public school because they have, I don't want to quote them, they have their own feelings why they don't want their words to go to public schools because of one thing or the other. So what do you think gave rise to the development of private institutions in the country?
What I think is, to some extent, the public school were neglected. You have a lot of things that are not put in place, and parents now think that it is better for them to get their children in private schools, and that is why you see the rise in private schools being established. And also, it is also government policy to encourage entrepreneurship, that individuals can also establish private schools up to university level. This is just to make sure that, to complement what government is doing. In as much as encouragement is given to individuals to establish schools, the government should not neglect their own schools, so that everything will be complementing one another. So these are the things that gave rise to the increase in private schools.
So being in the public space for a while in the educational sector, what will you say has been the regulation of the government in terms of their policy? How has it helped the public sector or affected it?
I will say the government has tried a lot they have a robust policy to help the educational sector in Nigeria. The only thing I would say is that they need to do more for us, because in the private schools here, all the schools that are approved, we are contending with unapproved schools, and there's no advocacy to that effect.
Who is supposed to make the advocacy?
We have an association, and I think they are talking, but the way the government is handling it, I don't think it's not the way we expected, because they approve schools, pay their dues to the government, and the unapproved schools are competing with you, contending with you. Some parents will owe you and take their children out of your school to the unapproved school. And now, how do you collect your money? There is no strong legislation to that effect. How you collect your money is not government problem. It's your problem. And you cannot use police to arrest some to collect debt. You have to go to court. The cost of litigation, you are the one that will bear it. At the end of the day, you may not even be able to collect the money, because it can tell that it's going to be paying you in piecemeal. These are the things the government need to help the private schools. Let the unapproved schools be regulated. Let there be a legislation that, look, if you own schools and you take your children to another school, the money will be paid. You cannot take old school, a school, and you run away with your children to another school. The government need to help in that area.
So what other areas do you think the government can help to bridge that?
Now, there should be a strong legislation to that effect. That parents, you cannot be running away, moving from one school or the other, or the other. With when you owe this school A, you carry your children at the end of the term to school B. If there is a strong law to that effect, you see that parents will be cautioned.
Okay, thank you. Recently, the federal government pegged the age of university entry to 18 years. Do you think that really can succeed in Nigeria?
I think it should succeed. That is a fantastic policy, because what we discover is that majority of the students at our university are just youth. They don't know what university is. They don't know what campus is. They don't know what university education entails. They are there. They don't know anything because they are young.
Would that not be traced down to the underage entry?
18?
When you talk about, there are some child, they fast forward their education. Do you think that should be curbed? Underage entry into the school?
Yes, underage should not be allowed to enter higher institution, because that is one of the things that give rise to courtesan. Because when you know why, you know what they call university, higher institution? It's a place that you don't call each other brother, sister, irrespective of your age. And when you are there underage, nobody is guiding you. Then the pressure peer. I'm not talking to you. The pressure, the peer pressure affects people. But when you are matured, you know that you know how to take decision. You know what they call discretion. That is it. So I agree with the government to make it 18 and let the government maintain it.
Okay, there's a rapid change now in the curriculum.
Yes.
Presently. So how are you, as your institution or your school, able to manage that development?
Yes, we are really managing it by the grace of God. Our curriculum is student-centered, not teacher-centered. Because our children, we are making sure that the curriculum makes them to have critical minds, to have analytical minds, to enable them to have focus, as I said earlier, to enable them to know the essence of focus. That when you are focused in your education, when you have an understanding of what it means to be educated, you have stability. And when you have stability, you'll be productive. And when you are productive, you have fulfillment. So the essence of education is for you to be productive and have fulfillment. So our curriculum is student-centered, not teacher-centered.
Okay. Okay, in the past administration of the former president, Buhari Muhammadu, he has what we call the school feeding programs. Yeah. Is that also extended to private schools?
No.
And if not, what are the private schools doing to access that privilege as well? Because recently the school feeding program was stopped some time ago, but the new President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have started it. So if it is not extended to the private sector, what are the association doing to make sure even the private students gain access to it?
I will leave that to the body of private schools association, but the policy is not extended to the private school, because probably they consider that anybody that takes their children to their private school should be able to feed they will be capable of feeding their children. So if there is advocacy to that effect that they should extend it to the private school, the body of private school association should take it up. But that would be a welcome development.
So today, technology is taking a major shape in the classroom situation.
Yeah.
In fact, if we want to take a look at it from the COVID-19 era,
Yeah.
when the COVID-19 came, it gives a boost to technology. So what is your school doing to leverage in that space?
By the grace of God, as I said, immediately after that COVID, everything changed. As we speak now, we have our projectors, which we use to teach our children. And also, immediately we resumed after COVID, we introduced coding and robotics.
Tell us more about that.
Yes. Coding and robotics is an IT program. And as we speak now, after COVID, we have now remote jobs. You can be here in Nigeria and you'll be working with an American company. You'll be working with a UK company or other nations. And with your IT knowledge, you can do that. That is why all our children now, from nursery 2, we are exposing them to coding and robotics. We are exposing them to IT. That is why we upgraded our computer lab. So every Thursday, the company is a company that comes to teach them. We have the company comes every Friday to teach our children. And as I speak with you, you need to see what our children are doing. So we are really preparing them for the 21st century students.
Okay, it is alleged that private institutions usually collect exorbitant prices but pay their teachers peanuts. What's your take on that?
What do you mean by exorbitant prices, school fees?
School fees.
Exorbitant school fees is, you cannot use that word because every school is established in an environment. Every school has a vision, an objective. So if you want to eat good soup, you have to bring out the money. So now, as for, I will speak for this school. For the past 5 years, we have not increased our school fees because it is not a business per se. It's a vision for the children to be educated. That is the passion. That's our passion. That we want all my children attended here, this school. All my children finished from this school. My last born now is in her final year, law school. She finished from this school. Now, and one of the policies here is that all my teachers, we don't owe our teachers, we pay them. And we have a robust system that makes our teachers financially comfortable. Yes, we have that robust system. You can come in today, and as you are a teacher, as your class is increasing, your salary is increasing. So we give you that opportunity, and other things we put in place so that our teachers, apart from their salary, they still have some other ways of making money, which makes them. Some of them have been with me since inspection of this school. Some of them that left is because of relocation. So that is how we operate here. So we don't strangulate our staff in terms of salary. We make sure that they are comfortable and we pay them as when due, because it is not good to owe your workers.
Okay, thank you, sir. What can Nigerians do? What can Nigeria adopt from the international scene to better our educational development here?
as I said earlier, apart from the structure, that is the building, there are other facilities. The library, an engineering student should have access to engineering equipment that will boost his learning. A medical student should be exposed to equipment that will make him to stand internationally as a medical doctor. These equipment should be in place. If these equipments are in place and the lecturers and what they do their work, they impart the knowledge, and the equipments are there, fantastic. The law students should be able to have access to books, to research. The moot court should be open. They let them know the importance of being a legal students. Let the medical student just this. Go to UCH in Ibadan. Go to Lutz. You'll be proud that your child is a medical doctor. You'll be proud that your child is a lawyer. You'll be proud that your child is an engineer. And that is why the 6334 system policy should be well followed, and let there be facilities to enhance the education of our children.
Okay, recently I've been to one of the library in Lagos here, and I was trying to do a particular research, but I was shunned by the kind of books they have there, archaic books. And if you want to juxtapose it between that time and what we have now, we find out that all those books should be outdated. What do you think the government can do to equip our libraries?
I remember when I was in secondary school, we have library at Odulami, well-equipped library. We have library at Alago. We have library all over the place. We will leave home Saturdays, go to the library to read. But you discover that the libraries are no longer functioning. All the spaces are being used for housing estate, are being used for other things, building houses, no recreational centers, no library. These are the things that are affecting. And even where you have the library, the books are not there.
So what can the government do?
That is what I'm saying. There should be enough funding for schools. The library aspect issue should be looked into. The facilities for the students for their education also should be looked into. Every equipment that are necessary. Education is wide. Also, the school also should also equip their libraries. I remember when I was in secondary school, even in higher institution, our library fantastic, equipped.
So today we have the rise of private institution presently. What's your take on that?
We have the what?
The rise of private institutions. A lot of private institutions are coming up by the day. What's your take on that?
As I said, the rise of private institutions. What gives rise to private institutions is that people are not comfortable of what is going on in government, in public schools, to some extent. Are you getting what I'm saying? Yes, sir. Now, you can see now in our higher institutions, the incessant strike, ASU strike, when you take your child to go and do 4 years course, and the 4 years course now is taking 5 years, 6 years, won't you take your child to where private school where the child will be 4 years course and come and finish? These are the things. So if the government can look into ASU, how much will it take to settle ASU? Let them settle ASU. How much will it take to equip these universities? It's issue of priority. If priority is given, so you discover that the rising of private institutions, I'm not saying that it's a great development. It's a good development. But another thing there is that there's nothing that has merits and without demerits. The government should not allow private institutions coming up and neglect their own institutions. Let there be equilibrium. Let there be balancing. We are complementing one another. Let not any aspect be neglected. Let there be balancing. If there's balancing, all my children attended public government institutions. All my children attended government institutions. So fantastic. I'm enjoying it. But the issue is that the incessant strike of ASU. Let us look into it.
So, on a last note, what do you want Nigerians to know about the education sector, and what do you want government should do as a matter of priority, even at this time?
Yes, what I want Nigerians to know is that as far as I'm concerned, and I know that intelligence Nigerians are concerned, education is not a scam. So that slang should be jettisoned. Education is very, very important. It is very, very important you educate your children. It is very, very important you have education. If you are educated, there's no way you cannot stand. If you are educated, I'm not saying go attend that you went to school, that you just go to be for the sake of going to school. I'm saying going to school, the school passed through you. So you will be independent. So the government should try as much as possible in funding education. Funding is lacking. In adequate funding, let me use that word. Adequate funding is lacking in our educational sector. Because go to our universities, go to other schools, go to our higher institutions, you discover that they are lacking funding. Infrastructures, equipments are not adequate. We talk about the issue of library. These are the issue of funding. And the educational community should be serious. There's a trending issue now in our higher institution. You discover that now you get to university, some campuses, no light for 3-4 days. Yes. No water. It's unheard of.
And that have caused them to increase the school fees of the students.
Yes. Now, as we speak, some universities, they all is private hostels. What is happening to the school's hostels? By the time you pay the school fees, you send your children feeding, you pay the private hostel. It's very exorbitant. It's cumbersome. It's affecting children, and that is why you see that the students are no longer concentrating, because they want to do some things on campus to augment what their parents are doing, giving them. What is the school doing with some money that comes to their hands to give the children? Put the hostel in place. Why the increase in private hostels? And they are charging exorbitant prices. And the student, a whole campus will be in darkness for 2-3 days, for 48 hours, 72 hours. No water for the children, for the student. It's dangerous. So government should look into it. Because if you produce graduates that are affected, that their mindset is already affected, it's going to be counterproductive.
So on security now, how best can the government address insecurity in schools?
Yes, that's is another area. This question now is fantastic. I was even discussing with somebody that with the rate at insecurity is going on in Nigeria. Recently, some medical students were kidnapped at Benue State there. Now, what about National Youth Service? They are kidnapping them here and there. I was saying that is it not necessary for the government to look into that policy? That is it necessary for this policy to continue, taking into consideration the rate of kidnapping
and killings
of youth corpers? Now, students on campus, they are vulnerable for kidnapping. It is very, very unheard of. Very, very unheard of. Now, I believe that the government can put in place, let the armed forces, to some extent, give us some men to guide our institutions. Because I haven't heard that. Somebody was telling me that an institution in Sokoto, that the bandits wrote the school. That they are coming. And they actually came.
They actually came. Even in Benue State, they wrote them and they actually came and they succeeded.
They succeeded. So, it's either there's an internal issue. So, I don't know what gives them that effrontery, that confidence to write and still made it. So the government need to look into it, because the lives of these children are vulnerable, and it will be terrible to put the lives of our children in jeopardy. They went to learn, and they are not to be victims of uneducated people. Because the people that are kidnapping, that those illiterates, you see them when they parade them, you'll be wondering. Someone that have not gone to school, killing a medical student, killing a medical doctor, killing an engineer. I mean, it's painful. The government should look into it and look into this, our National Youth Service. If the policy is still feasible. If the policy is still feasible, it has to be looked into. And if we are to continue with it, adequate security should be put in place for all our corpers and all higher institutions. Government should provide security for all the schools, particularly in the north, from Middle Belt upward. And some, I think east too. I don't bet it's not as rampant. From the Middle East upward, Middle Belt upward. So government should look into it. Security is very, very important. Security is very, very important. And some of these things, this issue of security is even making some children not to go to school. They don't want to go to school. So this is very, very important. I believe that the government should do something, and I think they are planning something.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Alabi Michael, for your time. Once again, I'm Benedict Abasi reporting for Rocket Parrot Media. Thank you very much, sir.